Hey, what's up, guys? It's New Dog, and 4th of July's coming up. Pretty cool. So I wanted to talk about the 4th of July a little bit, maybe impart some knowledge on y'all. So what is the 4th of July? What does it mean to you? You don't have to answer that question, obviously. It's for you. For me, as a kid, 4th of July was nothing more than getting together with family and friends, going to Memorial Park, barbecuing, playing games, and watching fireworks. That was the 4th of July for me as a kid. A lot of fun, a lot of great memories. And it wasn't until I actually got into my adult years, after I had joined the military, that I really started focusing more on what the 4th of July actually meant to me as an American. And it became more. And maybe that was because I was serving in the military at the time, and I had a patriotic sense of duty at the time. Still do, but maybe it was because of that patriotic sense of duty that made me really want to understand the 4th of July and to dig a little deeper into it. And just today, actually, I was just perusing the internet. I went to one of my favorite sites, historychannel.com, and they had written an article about the 4th of July. So I want to share that with you guys, and if you want to read it, because I'm not going to read it from beginning to end, but if you want to take the time to read it, I'll post a link for you in the video down in the description, and let's just get into it. So they have a little intro, which is fine. I'm not going to go into it. And then they have this category, the birth of Independence Day. When the initial battles in the Revolutionary War broke out in April 1775, few colonists desired complete independence from Great Britain, and those who did were considered radical. I did not know that. That is really interesting, that many of the colonists would rather have ties to Britain instead of being independent from Britain. And to understand that, we would have to go back to the mindset of the time, which I'm not going to go into. I don't know what the mindset of the time was when it came to independence versus staying part of the British colony. But I find that interesting, that the people who wanted independence were radicals. Moving on, by the middle of the following year, so not even a full year has gone by, many more colonists had come to favor independence, thanks to growing hostility against Britain and the spread of revolutionary sentiments, such as those expressed in the best-selling pamphlet Common Sense, published by Thomas Paine in early 1776. Common Sense, that's something I'm going to have to check out. I'm really interested what Thomas Paine had written that would change the mindset of the people of that time period. I know it's going to be a very interesting read because they had a very eloquent way of writing and speaking back in those days. It's nothing like the English that we speak now. There's a book called Can Do. It's a story about the Seabees, and you know what? I apologize. It's To the Shores of Tripoli, the book that I'm talking about, and it's a story about the birth of the United States Navy and Marine Corps. And in that book, they have letters written by Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, and Eaton, Admiral Eaton, and a few others. And it's really interesting because the letters written, you can swear that they're insulting somebody, but they do it in such a polite manner. It's really interesting. So I would love to get my hands on a copy of Common Sense in digital or any other format just to give it a good reading over. But anyways, I got off track. So we were talking about how Thomas Paine and his pamphlet called Common Sense, among other things, shaped the way Americans at that time thought about independence from Great Britain. Then it goes on. June 7, when the Continental Congress met at the Pennsylvania State House, known as Independence Hall today, Richard Henry Lee introduced a motion calling for the colony's independence. Amid heated debate, Congress postponed the vote on Lee's resolution, but appointed a 5-man committee. These 5 men were Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, and Robert R. Livingston. These 5 men were to draft a formal statement justifying the break with Great Britain. On July 2nd, the Continental Congress voted in favor of Lee's resolution for independence in a near unanimous vote. The New York delegation abstained but later voted affirmatively. On that day, John Adams wrote to his wife that, July 2nd, quote, will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival, and that the celebration should include pomp and parade, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other. Wow. This guy, John Adams, he hit it right on the head. I mean, even to this day, over 200 years later, we're doing this. You know, we've got the pomp. We've got parades, we've got games, we got sports, we've got guns. A lot of people like to go to the shooting range to shoot their guns. Bells, we do have bells. Bonfires are everywhere on the 4th of July, and illuminations, in other words, fireworks. He prophesied this, and he's spot on. It's amazing. I love it. On July 4th, the Continental Congress formally adopted the Declaration of Independence, which had been written largely by Thomas Jefferson. Though the vote for actual independence took place on July 2nd, the 4th became the day that was celebrated as the birth of American independence because the Declaration of Independence was essentially ratified on that day. So there's a little side note in here where John Adams actually disputed this whole thing. He refused to go to July 4th parties out of protest because he felt that July 2nd, the day that independence was voted on, should be the day of celebration instead of the day that the documentation was signed. So a little bit of drama there, if you like. But I still find it interesting. You know, should we maybe celebrate it on the 2nd? I don't know. We're obviously not doing it now. And it's not going to change, let's be honest. But I do find it interesting that, you know, that there is a debate there, and it is an actual debate that can be justified for either the 2nd or the 4th. But I'm sure this article will go into why we celebrate it on the 4th. I know it does, I just skimmed over it, but we're going to get there. Early 4th of July celebrations. Let's see here, what do we got? In the pre-revolutionary years, colonists had held annual celebrations of the king's birthday, which traditionally include the ringing of bells, bonfires, processions, and speech-making. By contrast, during the summer of 1776, some colonists celebrated the birth of independence by holding mock funerals for King George III. I did not know that. As a way of symbolizing the end of the monarchy's hold on America and the triumph of liberty. Only in America, man. Only in America would we hold mock funerals for a king to celebrate independence. I love it. Festivities include concerts, bonfires, parades, and the firing of cannons and muskets, usually accompanied the first public readings of the Declaration of Independence. Beginning immediately after its adaptation, Philadelphia held the first annual commemoration of independence on July 4th, 1776, while Congress was still occupied with the ongoing war. George Washington issued double rations of rum to all his soldiers to mark the anniversary of independence in 1778 and in 1781, several months before the key American victory in Yorktown. Massachusetts became the first state to make July 4th an official state holiday. That's interesting, I didn't know that either. After the Revolutionary War, Americans continued to commemorate Independence Day every year, in celebrations that allowed the new nation's emerging political leaders to address citizens and create a feeling of unity. By the last decade of the 18th century, two major political parties, Federalists and Democratic Republicans, they've got Democrat-Republicans, that had arisen began holding separate 4th of July celebrations in many large cities. I'm going to have to look into that. That sounds interesting. 4th of July becomes a national holiday. Here we go. I led on to this earlier. The tradition of patriotic celebration became even more widespread after the War of 1812, in which the United States again faced Great Britain. In 1870, the U.S. Congress made July 4th a federal holiday. In 1941, the provision was expanded to grant a paid holiday to all federal employees. Over the years, the political importance of the holiday would decline, but Independence Day remained an important national holiday and a symbol of patriotism. Falling in midsummer, the 4th of July has since the late 19th century become a major focus of leisure activities and a common occasion for family get-togethers, often involving fireworks and outdoor barbecues. The most common symbol of the holiday is the American flag, and a common musical accompaniment is the Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States. So there you guys have it. That's kind of the history of this holiday that we're fixing to celebrate. Which I find interesting. I know some of you probably couldn't care less, and that's fine. But, as I bring this video to a close, I just want to express to all of you out there that we do celebrate the 4th of July, just as John Adams stated, with pomp and circumstance, parades, fireworks, guns, bonfires, barbecues. Be safe, guys. Barbecue accidents happen. They do. People get burned. Children could easily get burned at a barbecue. Of course, fireworks. I know when we mix alcohol and things that explode, things tend to get a little crazy. So please, when you shoot off your fireworks, no matter how small, no matter how teensy you think they are, please do it in a safe way, guys. This is the time of year, historically speaking, that a lot of accidents happen where people get, first, second, and third degree burns from fireworks, where people lose limbs, people lose fingers, people lose eyes. There's really no excuse for any of that. So be safe. With the guns, as you all know, I'm a huge purporter of gun safety. Be safe, guys. Please be safe. Do not make me make a video about you, alright? There's plenty of videos out there of idiots with guns. I don't want to make one of those videos. Alright, I really don't. I probably will, just to talk about what could be done to prevent the accident from happening. It's actually something I've been planning on for a while now. But please be safe when you're handling firearms, because it's not only your safety, but it's the safety of everyone around you that is at stake when you're shooting firearms. So do so in a responsible and safe manner. Same thing with your fireworks. Be careful. Keep an eye on your kids and your animals. And on another note, with the fireworks and the guns, please have respect for your neighbors and for those who are just returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. PTSD is a real thing, and some people cannot handle hearing fireworks, especially when it's like your next door neighbor shooting them off. These guys really struggle with dealing with that because it's a trigger. It brings all the horrors back to them. So please be respectful of that. If you have neighbors who are veterans, please talk to them and ask them, hey, are you okay with us doing this here? And if they're not, respect those wishes. You know, take it down the street some, go to a park, go to somebody else's house to do it. Have respect for your veterans who do have PTSD and who tell you, hey, look, I would appreciate it if you didn't. Don't question it. Just say, hey, cool, I respect that, and go handle your business in another manner. I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Again, I hope you all have a great, safe, and fun 4th of July. I hope many of you guys who haven't seen family members get to unite at least once this year. And just enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that we do have this celebration. Enjoy the fact that we do have this independence where we can govern ourselves. I think that's amazing. That we're not living under some other country's rule. I mean, look at what is it, Scotland. Scotland actually voted to stay under British rule. And I don't agree with that, but I don't live in Scotland, so I can't say shit. They can't celebrate freedom. They can't celebrate independence the way we can. So we have something to really be happy about, guys. And I totally lied. I said I was cutting off. Now I really am. So anyways, guys, be cool, be safe, have fun. We'll talk to you next time.